And the fallout from one of the most uniquely devastating events in Texas history continues. 5 members of the Electric Reliability Council of Texas Board of Directors, including the chair, resigned from their positions effective at the conclusion of their recent board meeting. Now, according to filings with the Public Utility Commission of Texas. Now, this follows news that lawsuits have begun to pour in, claiming that the Texas Energy Council is responsible for the death of an 11-year-old boy. Christian Pineda was found dead last week in his family's Houston home, according to a new lawsuit. Now, the suit accuses ERCOT and Entergy of gross negligence and seeks damages of over $100 million. Entergy said in a statement to news outlets, "We are deeply saddened by the loss of life in our community. We are unable to comment due to pending litigation." ERCOT added, quote, "We haven't yet reviewed the lawsuits and will respond accordingly once we do. Our thoughts are with all Texans who have and are suffering due to this past week. However, because approximately 46% of privately owned generation tripped offline this past Monday morning, we are confident that our grid operators made the right choice to avoid a statewide blackout." Greg, I'm going to send it back to you.
All right, thank you. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West is a Christian constitutional conservative, a combat veteran, a former member of the U.S. Congress. He's also the chairman of the Texas Republican Party. Sir, welcome to the program. All right, there we go. We've got the blame game happening not only in Washington, but in Texas with this energy. What information can you give us concerning what happened in that storm here in Texas?
Well, again, our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of the little boy down in Conroe, Texas, lost his life, and all those families who lost loved ones and still suffering from the ramifications. It was very simple. You're supposed to have, the foresight and leadership. We knew at least 10 days ahead of time that this storm was coming our way. But you've got to go back to 2006 and think about the fact that since 2006, the state of Texas has invested about $19 billion of taxpayer subsidies into these renewable energy sources. And what did we come to find out here was that it failed us. In the last 2 to 3 years, we have seen the takedown of 2 to 3 of our coal fire plants, and we have trifold increased our dependency upon wind energy up to 23 to 25%. And so what happened with those grid operators from ERCOT, there's 9 of them on each shift, they saw a degradation in the wind energy distribution output from that 23 to 25% down to 3%. And what they did was they sent a letter to the Department of Energy, and the Department of Energy, David Huizenga Jr., refused to allow the state of Texas to increase its output of natural gas. As a matter of fact, it told them that if they wanted to go outside the state and purchase other energy, it would have to be done at $1,500 per megawatt hour. That's a 6,000% increase from last February of 2020. And that's why a lot of people are seeing these exorbitantly high utility bills, because they're on market rate-based plans. So the failure to winterize our systems, the failure to have a proper backup, the lack of foresight, this all comes down to incompetence and mismanagement. It shouldn't be about the blame game. It should be talking about the responsibility and accountability that has to be taken. And woe to us that we had members of the ERCOT, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, that didn't even live in Texas, to include the chairman and the vice chairman of the board of ERCOT.
Okay, so I just heard you say something. I want to clarify, make sure what I heard, that they recognized what was happening when it was happening and went to the federal government, Energy, and asked to buy natural gas, and they were not allowed to. Is that correct?
Yeah. They first of all asked to increase the natural gas output, and that was denied because they were told it would be a violation of emission standards. 85% of Texas is on its own grid, the other 15% neighboring states, Louisiana, Oklahoma. So we were not allowed to increase our output of natural gas, which we have in an abundance, and therefore they were told that they could buy additional energy, but we came down to the bottom line, and they had to institute these rolling blackouts and shutdowns.
Well, natural gas is clean, though. That's what I've always been told.
Me too. And that's why I don't understand why the Department of Energy would deny Texas to turn on more natural gas into the system. We should not be relying upon these renewables because they ended up not being reliable in this circumstance.
Absolutely true. Thank you. It's absolutely true. One question, there's a lot of people I'm hearing that I run into at the market or getting gas or whatever, and they're talking to me. And they're tired of the politicians holding hearings all the time here in the state of Texas, but mainly in Washington, and nothing getting done. Is there any remedy for that?
Yeah, if you don't like to have all these hearings and all of the rhetoric out there, then you should look at replacing the people that you have as your representatives. You know, right now, I mean, the last time Texas had this type of a storm was 2011. I remember that. That was the Super Bowl year. I think it was Green Bay and Pittsburgh played here at the AT&T Stadium. You had an incredible ice storm. And we talked about hardening the grid system here in Texas because, like I said, 85% is Texas' own grid system. We're not on the East Coast or the West Coast interconnection. So all through this time, we have not done anything to harden that grid. As a matter of fact, no one even checked to see if our grid systems and infrastructure had been winterized. And again, you knew 10 days ahead of time that this was coming.
Yeah, thank you so much. So true. It's good to get clarification. Isn't it good?